It's pre-release weekend, and that means it's time to talk about the top 15 most valuable cards from Dominaria United. One of the cards on the list was a genuine surprise for me.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends! I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered to talk about the top 15 most expensive cards from Dominaria United. Obviously, these are based on pre-release prices. By the time you see this video, they may have changed, but I'm super hyped about this set and all the goodness that is in it. So let's dive in and see what's on the list. We're starting out at number 15 with an absolutely bonkers merfolk in the form of Vidalian Hexcatcher. This thing is crazy. 1 blue and 1 for a 1/1 merfolk wizard. It has flash. It gives other merfolk you control +1/+1, and has the ability sacrifice a merfolk, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. This is the most powerful of the 5 tribal lords that have been included in Dominaria United. This thing can actually just function like a counter spell if you want it to. Your opponent could cast a non-creature spell, and while that spell is on the stack, you can literally flash this guy out and then sacrifice him to counter that spell unless they have 1 mana to pay. So all on its own, he's got that little bit of countering ability. But once you have merfolk on the table, this guy is completely insane. He boosts them up and also allows you to sacrifice any of your merfolks to stop non-creature spells from happening if your opponent doesn't have the extra mana kicking around, right? So you can keep them under your thumb very, very easily unless they have creature answers. And the flavor on this is also awesome too, right? You've got the Hexcatcher who patrols the seas. He's the Captain Planet of Dominaria Seas. You can see it from the flavor text. You're just one more pollutant to be removed from the sea. That's some good flavor text, and I really dig in particular the staff that the Hexcatcher wields. So we're starting out at $7 as the lowest price on this list, and this is one of the few rares that we're seeing. The next thing we're going to talk about is number 14, and that is Joda, the Unifier. This card is amazing. 1 green, 1 red, 1 black, 1 blue, and 1 white, 5/5 legendary human wizards. Not wizards, wizard. Legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control, and whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with lesser mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So he has Cascade specifically for legendary spells and boosts them up as well. Just by himself, he's a 6/6 if there's no other legendaries on the board. So this is a very fun concept, and Joda does feature prominently in the story of Dominaria United. The artwork is pretty straightforward. Here he is with his allies, the elves, getting ready, unifying everybody, and that is covered as part of the story. This card is currently $8, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this guy moving upwards over time. After that, we've got number 13, a Johnny Sleeper Agent, the most tragic character in the set if you don't consider the fact that Teferi is not in the set as a tragedy. So, a Johnny Sleeper Agent is 1 white, 1 Phyrexian green-white, 1 green and 1 for a 4 loyalty planeswalker with the completed ability where you can pay 2 life for the Phyrexian mana, but if you do, then a Johnny comes in with only 2 loyalty counters instead of 4. I really do like the ability to speed them out, but at the cost of lower loyalty and life. It's a great way to do power balancing. First ability is +1, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature or planeswalker card, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may put it on the bottom of your library. -3, distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among up to 3 target creatures. They gain vigilance until end of turn. And -6, you get an emblem with, whenever you cast a creature or planeswalker spell, target opponent gets 2 poison counters. This is a really cool concept. You have a Johnny, he's been turned to the sides of the Phyrexians. If you haven't already checked out Dominaria United Story, it's actually quite enjoyable, and I've covered the entire thing over on my Fantasy Geographic channel. So if you don't want to read it and just want to hear it, I've got you covered. Link at the end of the video. So a Johnny has been turned into a Phyrexian, and the abilities here represent that in a pretty sad way, right? Like a Johnny is known for beefing up your dudes, and you've got the beefing ability as the -3, but in this case, he's beefing up the Phyrexians, working behind the scenes as a sleeper agent. And then -6, normally a Johnny is about protecting and healing. Now he's about giving your opponents poison counters, secretly laying the groundwork for Phyrexia. It's really epic. Now, this version of a Johnny is $8, and I do want to let you know that there are 3 or 4 different versions of this. So when we're dealing with the cards on this list, I am using the most basic version that you can get in regular boosters for the price organization. So I didn't include special crazy ones. Otherwise, you will find a Johnny's that have a higher price ranking, right? So a Johnny's number 13. Number 12 is Karn the Pointing Robot. Karn Living Legacy. 4 casting cost, 4 loyalty, +1, create a tapped Power Stone token. I think it's really cool that they added Power Stone tokens into Magic. And they're artifacts that tap for a colorless mana, but the mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. So you can use them to activate creature abilities and stuff, but you can only use them to cast artifact spells. That's pretty funky, right? Then you've got -1, pay any amount of mana, look at that many cards from the top of your library, put one of those cards into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And then -7, you get an emblem with tap an untapped artifact you control. This emblem deals 1 damage to any target. I really like the ultimate because it makes me think of Karn in the story. Instead of Karn using magic in the story, he's basically just like crushing people with his hands and feet. He's just all fists and hands going wild. So the idea of tapping artifacts to do 1 damage cards, like, I have all this magic at my disposal, but what if I was to just smack you in the face with my metal hand? Like, it's just fun. All right, so Karn Living Legacy is also coming in at $8. Who's next? The most tragic character for sure in the Dominaria United Story, and that is Jaya, Fiery Negotiator. Jaya, I say her name differently every time. 2 red and 2, 4 loyalty planeswalker. +1, create a 1/1 red monk creature token with prowess, and prowess means the creature gets +1/+1 for every non-creature spell you cast in a turn, but only till end of turn. -1, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Choose one of them, you can play that card this turn. -2, choose target creature an opponent controls. Whenever you attack this turn, Jaya deals damage equal to the number of attacking creatures to that creature. That one's really underwhelming. -8, you get an emblem with, whenever you cast a red instant or sorcery spell, copy it twice. You may choose new targets for the copies. That is an ultimate that feels incredible. I have no idea what the monk concept is supposed to be because there were no monks in the story, so she doesn't really feel like she fully ties into the concept of how she was acting in the story, with the exception of the ultimate. Like, Jaya was wiping out Phyrexians in an insane way with crazy fire magic. She was super epic, and I love that we get this awesome tribute to her at the end, and also that secret layer that's coming. So this is a solid card overall, coming in at $9. Next up is Leyline Binding. Now, this is one that I previously mentioned. I wasn't sure if this was too hype of a card, but the market has decided this is indeed a hype boy. So, Leyline Binding, 1 white and 5. It has flash, it's an enchantment. It has domain, it costs 1 less for each basic land type among lands you control. So, you can actually get this down to costing 1 white mana. When it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until Leyline Binding leaves the battlefield. So at its best, 1 mana at instant speed, you can literally remove any one of your opponent's permanents. So there is a lot of strength there. It really does remain to be seen, at least in my opinion, whether domain is going to be significant enough for this. Is it really at that price point because of standard, or are there modern decks or something else like that is eyeing it? I love the artwork. This dark demonic being that is being bound by these essence strands of different colors of mana. I like the fact that it ties into Domain by showing you all 5 colors of mana as they just basically whip up out of ley lines and snag this demon. It's crying out. Kind of looks like a harpy demon. That is some really awesome artwork. And this one is coming in at $9. All right, and that was number 10. Number 9 is Shivan Devastator, the Flying Fireball. 1 red and X for a 0/0 with flying and haste. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. So it's just straight up, hey, I can make a big fireball and slam it into your face. That's how it feels to me, because a fireball is 1 red and X, do X damage to a target style spell. So just going, oh, by the way, it's on a creature, because it has haste, if they don't have a blocker, this is nuts. And if you need cheap dragons in a dragon deck, you can literally just put him out as a secret Hydra. He's a little baby dragon. He's only got 1 head. You don't even know he's a Hydra, right? So this is a very straightforward and great concept. Melding dragons and hydras together is really cool because they both inhabit that same sort of gigantic, menacing lizard beast, and dragons are terrifying because of their intelligence and their breath weapons and their flight abilities, and hydras are terrifying for their might and the fact that if you hack their heads off, they regenerate more, so they're very difficult to destroy. Put them together, and you've got an absolute nightmare, right? This is a really cool idea. And the flavor text says, there are many reasons why Shiv was not high on Sheoldred's list of places to conquer. Big fiery reasons. It's like, yeah, you know what? We don't need to deal with these dragons. Let's just skip on that. So Shivan Devastator is at $9 currently. After that, we've got Plaza of Heroes. I was surprised to find out that this was ranked number 8, but I really shouldn't be, considering it screams every commander player get 1,000,000 of me, right? It's a land that taps for a colorless. It taps to add a mana of any color, but you can only cast that to cast a legendary spell. And it also taps to add a mana of any color among legendary permanents you control. So clearly, that's meant to be, you have your commander out, a tap for a mana of any color you need, right? And for 3 mana, you can exile it to make target legendary creature hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So yeah, it definitely screams 1,000,000% I am a commander card. So even like right out of the gates, it is a $9 card. After that, we've got one that excites my senses. Silverback Elder. Ape Shaman. 3 green and 2 for a 5/7. Whenever you cast a creature spell, choose one. Destroy an artifact or enchantment. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest in the bottom of your library random order. Or gain 4 life. So you can smoke through artifacts or enchantments. You can gain 4 life. Or you can just start reaming through your deck for lands and putting them straight into play. Like, this is epic. And look at how impressive this Elder looks. He has a full-on tree as a staff. The big fat 7 toughness. This right here is my number 1 favorite card from Dominaria United. Hands down. This is mega epic. And it's only coming in at $10. I don't even know how that's possible. Moving on, we've got another bonkers card in the form of Vesuvan Duplimancy at number 6. So 1 blue and 3 gets you an amazing enchantment that says, whenever you cast a spell that targets only a single artifact or creature you control, create a token that's a copy of the artifact or creature, except it's not legendary. So you can even get extra copies of your legendaries. This is so abusable, man. It is awesome. And the flavor behind it's so cool too, right? It says there hasn't been an original thought on Vesuva in centuries, because Vesuva is an isle of duplication. It is an isle of shapeshifters. That's why even the Isle of Vesuva itself can mimic and mirror another land. This is really cool, and I love the idea of diplomacy being changed into duplimancy instead. The artwork is amazing with all the different masks representing different identities, and the fact that you have the 2 different individuals there to represent the reflection token. Like, this is epic level flavor, and it's currently only a $12 card. Now, this card right here, I feel very confident in saying, is going to go up. Like, this is going to be something that people will want over time. It is incredible seriously, pay attention to this one. This is going to be something that people want, right? I mean, anything can happen in the world and stuff can fluctuate, but Vesuvan Duplimancy at $12 feels incredibly undervalued to me, like over the longer scale of time. Moving on to the next card, we have Karn's Silex. This is number 5 on the list. This is an amazing artifact. 3 mana, enters the battlefield tapped. Players can't play life to cast spells or to activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. This is a really cool way to make it anti-Phyrexian because the Phyrexians have that whole completed mana concept and a few cards that will let you pay life as part of casting costs. So this is an awesome way to say no to Phyrexia. But what's even more awesome is the destructive capability. Pay X and tap it, exile it, destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X or less. Activate only as a sorcery. Now, this was originally the Golgothian Silex back in the original days of Antiquities. And that card actually destroyed all the cards from Antiquity. So it did have this massive wipeout effect. So I like that they've carried this over. And this is actually the magical artifact that Karn intends to use to wipe out the entire plane of New Phyrexia. He's literally going to wipe it all out. And what happens in the story with this Silex is incredible. I absolutely was not expecting it. Again, if you haven't checked out the story, head on over to Fantasy Geographic. You're really missing out if you haven't. The next set, Brothers War, is coming, and this story all leads up to it. We got time travel craziness, super epic. Silex is at 13 bones. This one also feels undervalued to me, but not as undervalued as Duplimancy, because there's lots of destroy cards, but Duplimancy is a unique effect. Moving on to the next card. Number 4 gets you Sarah Paragon. 2 white and 2 for a 3/4 flying angel. During each of your turns, you may play a land from your... During each of your turns, you may play a land from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. If you do, it gains, when this permanent's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, exile it and you gain 2 life. This is nuts. Just letting you, hey, by the way, I've got the Crucible of Worlds effect tacked on to me, and as well, I'll let you cast any permanent that costs 3 or less. And we've got the standardized sort of, it's going to go back to the graveyard, it gets exiled, but you get 2 life as well, all tacked into a 4 mana package. This is sick. And I do love the way that the art ties into the concept. You have her, right? She is just this massive epic angel, and she is there. She almost looks motionless, right? It looks like her wings aren't even moving. She's just whipped them out, and we're here in this frozen moment where she's reaching out this beckoning hand. The light is framed behind her, illuminating her. Her feathers are drifting downwards while this fallen knight is reaching up, and you can see probably soil and actually maybe even a bit of his own blood dripping out of his hand. You got arrows sticking out of his body like he was done for. He has been brought back from the grave, reaching up towards this vision of salvation. What a fantastic way to tie the flavor together. This is a home run in terms of card design, my friends. This is $17. We're getting up to the meteor money, but let's move up to the top tier, okay? Number 3 is Timeless Lotus. This is insane. I can't believe they made this. I thought Gilded Lotus was nutty. 5 mana for a Lotus that taps to give you 3 mana. This thing gives you 5 mana. Yes, it's not 3 of the color of your choice. It is spread across all 5 colors, but it's only 5 to put out, and it gives you 5 mana every time you tap it. I cannot wait to get one of these in my cube. This is the number 1 target for my cube from this set, hands down. This thing is insane. It's so crazy. Like, I have seen this so many times, and I still cannot fully wrap my mind around it. And to add to the coolness, it mentions Urza. Urza exploited nature to power his war machines. In time, nature exploited his war machines to renew itself. This ties into the most epic storyline in Magic's history, the Brothers' War. Urza going from being a mortal man to a planeswalker, and a battle against Phyrexia that spans thousands and thousands of years and ripples throughout the multiverse. And in the artwork, we can see a fallen war engine, and its hand, it's basically its body's collapsed, and its hand is laying there, and it's turned from the hand that's like laying when you're a corpse into an open hand that is holding this flower that has grown up out of it and using the magic that was in this war machine. It's attuned itself with the entirety of Dominaria's magic. This is incredible. I love Timeless Lotus. And this fat daddy is coming in at 31 thick dollary dues. Number 2 is Sheoldred, the Apocalypse. 2 black and 2, 4/5, legendary Phyrexian Praetor. I love that Phyrexian's a creature type now. It makes me so happy. She has Death Touch. She has whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life, because why not? And whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. She is the most insane Underworld Dreams ever created. This card is so strong. It's so unfair. And it's got that proper Phyrexian Praetor symmetry, dissymmetry, where it's like, it's not exactly symmetrical, but it feels that way, where it's like every time I gain a card, I'm gaining 2 life. Every time you get a card, you're losing 2 life. I love that. Flavored text says, Gix failed. I shall not. Oh, there's awesome artwork of Gix and Xancha on that one saga too. Dominaria United is such a home run, man. The flavor's amazing. Did you know Sheoldred's body got completely obliterated when she went through the planar bridge to get to Dominaria? It stripped all the flesh away from her body, so they had to reconstitute her body, and then she melded with an ancient dragon engine that was left on Dominaria and started ramming the mana rig with her new crazy body? Bro, the story is epic. You are missing out. Anyways, I'll keep ranting about it. Let me just say the price of Sheoldred, 37 bones. And let's move on to number 1. We all know who it is. It's pretty little Liliana, the sweet school marm from Strixhaven. 2 black and 1 gets you Liliana of the Veil. 3 loyalty, +1, each player discards a card. -2, target player sacks a creature. -6, separate all permanents target player controls into 2 piles. That player sacrifices all permanents in the pile of their choice. This is an absolutely broken mythic. This card is insane. It is the best card in the set. Nothing's really ever probably going to surpass it from this set. Even with her being reprinted, she will probably remain the most valuable card in the set. And this variation of the artwork with that dress looks so good. The chain veil reflection in the mirror behind her is so awesome. And the fact that they brought the Raven Man into the set and are tying that all together is so epic. We cover that part of the story over on Fantasy Geographic as well, so check it out. Liliana the Veil currently going for a fat $44, squatting over everything else on this list. That wraps everything up. Big thank you to all my patrons. Go check out the story on Fantasy Geographic or watch some more stuff on this channel, whatever you want to do. Thanks for coming by. Have a good one, my friends.